I am back today with another Dates with Kate storytime video. I feel like I haven't done one of these in so long. If you watch my weekly vlogs, you might have seen that I've actually now got a boyfriend. Hallelujah, it's a miracle. I finally met a decent guy on a date. Can you believe it? If you would like the story time of that date at some point in the future maybe, then do let me know, leave me a comment down below. But today I'm telling you about a date that I went on a couple of months before I met my boyfriend, and I walked away from this date being like, what just happened? It was just so weird for a first date. It was absolutely bizarre. Just to recap, in this series I talk about a date that I've been on, and hopefully you guys can have a giggle and know that you're not alone in kind of app dating and how difficult and bizarre it can be. So I am going to call this guy Jamie. I'm going to hide his identity by changing his name. So Jamie and I matched on Tinder in August last year, so like 6 months ago. But we didn't actually meet until mid-September just because both of our kind of work and life schedules were so hectic at that point. I think I'd just moved house and turned 30, and he had his sister from another country visiting, and then he had deadlines at work and it was just really busy. So it took a really long time for us to meet, but what I liked about his profile was that there was a picture of him covered in glitter, and I also had a really similar picture on my profile covered in glitter from a Gleam party the year before. So his opening message to me was, "Katie, you're even more covered in glitter than me," and it had like a gif of something exploding. And I was just like, yeah, I'm still finding the glitter on me now. We had a couple of messages of small talk, and then we moved it swiftly onto WhatsApp. But mid-September, we both had an evening free. I actually had like a blogger event that evening that I had to attend, and I'd never done this before, but because it was proving quite difficult to like actually find a date we could both do, I was like, oh, how about you meet me after my event and then we can go for a drink nearby. The event was in like Shoreditch Old Street area, so I was like, we can go to Hoxton Square after because it's only around the corner, and he was like, yeah, that's great. So I went to this event. Louise was there, Sprinkle of Glitter, and I was telling her and all the PR girls about this guy I was going to meet up with and showed them his profile, and they were like, oh, can't wait to hear how it goes. I was quite excited, but I did have a couple of Prosecco's at this event just because, like, just to like ease my first date nerves, but also because at events like this there is a lot of like free alcohol going around. So I texted him being like, oh, I'm a little bit tipsy, like I've had a couple of glasses, and he was like, it's all cool. And he texted me when he was outside. So I was really nervous, like walking out of this event. I had been given the biggest goodie bag. It had a massive like sofa velvet, gorgeous pink velvet cushion in it. It was a Harvey's event. So I had this massive goodie bag, and I felt really self-conscious kind of walking out. Looked like the ultimate bag lady, with like a tote and a goodie bag and my handbag, and but it was fine. Thankfully spotted him straight away. There wasn't any like catfishing going on. He was definitely who he said he was. And yeah, first impressions were nice. He looked like his profile. He was very tall, handsome, really friendly, like no awkward silences. And so we decided to walk to Hoxton Square together and go to a cocktail bar called Happiness Forgets. I've actually been there on 3 first dates before. That was my 3rd first date there. So I was a bit nervous as well about the staff being like, oh, she's back again with another lad. I think one of the reasons I was so excited to meet this guy in particular was because he looked like a proper adult. He kind of looked like he had his shit together. He was a little bit older than me, like mid-30s, and he sounded like he had a great job, and I was really excited about potentially meeting, like, instead of just a bit of a fuckboy or a bit of a lad, someone who has kind of got his life a bit sorted and a bit more adult and mature about things. So yeah, I had those kind of preconceptions in my head going on to the date, and it started really well. This cocktail bar is tiny and you can't stand around, everyone has to be seated, so we sat at the bar and I had a look at the cocktail menu, and he ordered a cocktail that wasn't on the menu. He said that he'd been there so many times that he just kind of ordered like a special cocktail off menu, and I was just like, okay then. And he also told me at that point that whenever he and his housemates go to like a pub or a cocktail bar, they normally steal the drinks menu and take it home, so that when they're making cocktails from their bar cart at home, they can like look up the like ideas or recipes or something like that. And he joked that he already had this menu, so he didn't need to take it. And I was like, oh yeah, haha. I couldn't really tell if he was being serious or not. He spoke an awful lot about himself for the first half an hour. In fact, I think it took him about 45 minutes before he even asked me what I did for a living. But he did have a really cool job. I think he was like an editor, and he was freelance, but he had worked on loads of cool like films and projects and TV shows and stuff. We found out that we had a lot of things in common. For example, I was in a Netflix documentary that had just come out at the time, and he'd actually worked on that documentary at some point as well, so he hadn't seen my episode, thank God, but we had things in common. I told him about what I did. He didn't seem too bothered about it. He didn't seem like it surprised him too much. I feel like a lot of guys get very freaked out when they hear what I do for a living. They like start getting suspicious that I've got like secret cameras set up on the date to film what's happening. Yeah, so I don't normally tell the guys that I dated what I did until I was on said date, because I also didn't want them to look me up beforehand. So yeah, he didn't seem too bothered about my job, which was a good thing. And then after a drink there, we decided to go on to another cocktail bar slash pub. We went to the Siegfried von Underbelly, I think it's called, in Hoxton Square. It's a really cute, quirky pub. I really like it for kind of meeting up with friends and drinking and dates. They've got an amazing cocktail list, loads of neon signs. They do food and pizza and stuff as well, so there's an option to eat. So we went there, and I was like, I'll get these drinks because you got the last ones. And we stood at the bar looking at this cocktail menu, which was a really nice cocktail menu. It was leather bound. Like, it wasn't just like a piece of paper menu. It was like bound in a book with laminated paper inside with all these like cocktails on. And we both kind of chose what ones we wanted, and I was ordering. And he kept like elbowing me and like kicking me. He did it like 3 times, and I was trying to ignore it. I was like, it must have been a mistake, but he kept doing it. So I was like, what are you doing? Looked at him, and he was like giggling. So I was like, what's happening? What's so funny? He elbowed me again and looked down, and he had put the leather bound cocktail menu in my bag, and all I could say was, you need to go and get us a seat. Go, like, take my bag and go and get us a seat. He thought it was hilarious, and I was just standing there like, I hope no one saw that. What is this guy doing? It's a first date. I got our cocktails and then went and found where he was sitting. He was still so chuffed with himself for doing that. I think the thing that got me the most was like, don't involve me in your crime. I don't want to partake in any crime or theft. I've never shoplifted anything in my life. I don't want to start now at the age of 30 on a first date with a guy I met on Tinder. At this bar, the conversation got a little more sexual. I felt like he was trying to really like sway and move the conversation into a more like sexual way. We spoke a lot about like bad first dates and like chat up lines to use on people and one night stands and stuff like that. There was one point where I went to the toilet and came back, and the area he was sitting in was really smoky, and then like a strong smell of like strawberry hit me, and I was like, have you been vaping? And he was like, no. And I was like, no, you have. You've been vaping whilst I've been in the toilet. I don't even know if vaping is allowed in like pubs and bars and restaurants, but he had been, and then he admitted that he had. He said that he found this vape he was using on a park bench. Like, literally he was just like taking puffs of this vape that wasn't even his, he'd found on a park bench. What the hell? Looking back at this date, I'm just like, so many little things happened where I was just like, this is not normal first date behaviour. We also started talking about like what we wanted from a relationship, and he said something to me like, I get the feeling you just want sex and you just want fun and you're not ready to settle down just yet. And I was like, well, why are you saying that? Like, you really don't know me at all. I felt like he just wanted to get in my knickers, and that's why he was kind of leading the conversation that way. He also did make a move, and he was very touchy-feely, like a bit too like hands on legs and like up, like stroking up and down and like nibbling my ear, and I was just like, it's nice, but like bit too quick for a first date, I think. Yeah, I wrote in my notes when I got home, he spoke about sex quite openly and said that he got the impression I wasn't looking for anything serious and was very touchy-feely. I then decided that I had enough and wanted to go home, so we said goodbye. He walked off with his menu. He literally took the menu with him under his coat. I jumped in an Uber. The taxi driver saw him and said to me, "Oh, I think he's in love with you." And I was like, "No, I just think he's very drunk and trying to hide the fact he's got a stolen menu under his coat." Yeah, that was that date. We spoke really briefly afterwards. After the date, he got home and he sent me a picture of the menu he stole on his bar cart, along with all the other stolen menus that he had. And he also said, "I'll give you a lowdown list of our date for your blog if you're feeling fuzzy and can't remember." Basically saying that he wouldn't mind if I filmed a Dates with Kate video about him, because like I always feel a bit funny about this and a bit wary, especially after my ex, that if a guy is very keen to be spoken about and appear in my content, that's normally a warning sign for me. I don't really want that, and that's something that I really like about my partner now, is that he's very happy to stay off camera, let me get on with my thing and not be the centre of attention. So yeah, that also definitely put me off, the fact that he literally sent me a list of things we'd spoken about on the date for this Dates with Kate video. He said, "What didn't we cover? Netflix, one night stands, worst dates, vaping, hamsters and sex, ha ha ha." And I replied, "Stolen menus, ... And that was it. Bit of a bizarre date story, but it is quite a funny one to tell just because it's so stupid. Like, best behaviour, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you would like to hear more Dates with Kates, I have a lot more first date stories. Even though I am happily in a very like content relationship now, I have a lot of bad date stories saved up from my time of being single. So yeah, if you would like to hear more of them, let me know. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever been on a date like this, and what's the weirdest thing anyone's done on a first date with you. Lots of love, guys. See you soon. Mwah!